Alrighty, so if you're watching this video on the replay, please be sure to leave me a comment below and let me know what kinds of future sessions you would like on just specific things that you want to learn in terms of taking control of your anxiety. Today, we're going to be diving into the importance of sleep and how taking control of your sleep is really going to help you in turn take control of your anxiety. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to jump right in. This is a live video, but I will be posting it in on my website so that you'll be able to rewatch this at any point, or rather I'll be posting it on my YouTube channel and sharing it with everyone on my email list. Also, if you're interested in getting any of the notes or the resources and recommendations that I refer to throughout the video, please make sure that you join my email list. You'll see the link in the description of this video. You just click on that, add your email address, and then you'll get a series of sort of welcome emails, but you'll also be added to my email list, and I will send notes regarding today's session to anybody that's on that list. So be sure to do that if that's something that you are interested in as well. So let's go ahead and jump right in. If you see me looking off to the side, I'm just going to be referring to my notes off and on. I'm testing StreamYard for this stream today. So quick disclaimer, even though I am a counseling professional, this information is for informational and educational purposes only. This is not to be considered a counseling session or anything like that, or psychotherapy. Anything that I share in today's session should not be considered medical advice and should not supersede anything that your doctor tells you. So all important things to really think about or to keep in mind. I do recommend that you see your personal doctor if you have a lot of issues with your sleep and with anxiety. It's a really great idea. I always recommend that people look into working with an integrative or functional doctor, someone that specializes in functional medicine, or a naturopathic doctor if you live in a state that licenses those kinds of doctors as well. They tend to be more holistic and really integrate your whole body and sort of nutrition and lifestyle and all of that before going into medication. It's also really important that you see a therapist as well, an actual counselor that can help you work through just some of the negative thinking that's associated with anxiety. Because sometimes you can, only do so much lifestyle stuff. You have to really dig in to your thinking and what you meditate on. All right, so studies suggest a strong relationship between insomnia, anxiety, and depression. There's a study about Alvaro et al. From 2013, and it is the reason that it's incredibly important to prioritize sleep if you want to help prevent or improve your anxiety symptoms. Anxiety is also very closely related to depression as well, so they all kind of go hand in hand to some degree. Sleep is actually very restorative for your body and your brain, and some of the studies lately have been showing allows the brain to detoxify itself. So missing sleep leads to problems with mood, focus, attention, even memory formation, and overall brain health. So in terms of how many hours of sleep do you need, it really depends on your age. This session is really focused more so on adults. I specialize and I'm passionate about helping women. And I just realized I didn't introduce myself. So let me do that real quick. Hi, my name is Melly Rentas. I am a registered mental health counselor intern in the state of Florida, but I've been helping people take control of their thoughts and work through anxiety for the past 13 years. I'm really passionate about helping women specifically, and especially moms, because, women, moms, and everyone, we really self-sacrifice and we do a lot. And it's just a very specific population that I just love working with. But I also really have enjoyed in the past working with kids and teens and all that good stuff. So when it comes to sleep, when we're talking about young adults, so if you're 18 to 25, ideally you want to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. If you're 25 to 64, it's also 7 to 9 hours. But then as you get older, 65 and up, it knocks down a little bit to 7 to 8 hours. So as you get older, you actually need less sleep. I do want to comment on teenagers. So from 14 to 17, that group, they usually need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. And kids 6 to 13 would be 9 to 11 hours of sleep. I would like to comment, especially since I don't know if I said this, but I'm also a certified school counselor, actually pre-K through 12 in the state of Florida. So as I mentioned a minute ago, I'm very passionate about helping kids too. But it's important to note that any teenager that is dealing with insomnia really needs to see a doctor, because it's very rare for teens to actually have insomnia. Their bodies need sleep and they thrive off of it. So it could be a sign of a serious health issue, medical, neurological, whatever the case may be. And there's just so many risks associated with it, like substance abuse. Again, so that's, just all the more argument or making a case for how important it is for teenagers with insomnia to see a medical professional. But it's common for people with anxiety and depression to have problems sleeping. It's important to prioritize sleep for your optimal brain health. There's a connection in the science with sleep and obesity. People who sleep less than 8 hours a night tend to have a higher BMI, as well as disrupted hunger and satiety hormones. And that was a study by Tahiri Lynn, Austin Young, Mignoy, I think it's French, I'm not sure, from 2004. So lots of different factors associated with insomnia and difficulty sleeping. Insomnia and other sleep issues can cause serious problems in work, school, relationships. You may have noticed that in your own life. If you go a day or two without sleeping, or just have interrupted sleep, or you're just having a hard time, whatever it may look like, sleeping, you may notice throughout your day that you just feel a little off. So maybe you can tell me in the comments or in the chat, what it is you notice about yourself, or just think about it. How does a lack of sleep affect you in your everyday life? It can actually make the symptoms of certain illnesses even worse, like fibromyalgia and epilepsy, and can cause fatigue and issues with concentration, which in turn can affect your work, obviously, depending on what you do, but most jobs require a lot of concentration. And people with insomnia are at high risk for substance abuse as well. It's also very closely linked to other mental health conditions like bipolar, major depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, and sleep deprivation can lead to psychosis. So psychosis is when you're completely just out of touch with reality and can be dangerous to yourself or others, and that leads to hospitalization. So you can see how incredibly important it is to get enough sleep. There's also something called acute grief. So anyone that's having who's dealing with the acute grief phase may have a very hard time with insomnia as well. So what are some things to know? Okay, now that you have all this background information, what can you do about it? What are some of the steps you can take to improve your sleep? So number one, prioritize it. If you're really serious about improving your health in general, as you noticed, from weight to pain to other diseases to mental health conditions, all of it is severely affected by having a problem sleeping. So you have to at first really recognize that you have an issue and that you need to prioritize taking care of it. So really prioritizing a consistent sleep schedule. So going to bed and waking up at the same time every single day, even on weekends and days off, having that consistency is actually going to be most helpful for regulating your sleep. It's important to know that actually our internal clock, you may remember the term circadian rhythm from school, when you were in school, but it's very much in connection with the sun. So going outside and getting 30, 40 minutes or even more of sunlight can be very helpful in just regulating all of your hormones, including melatonin, which is your sleepy hormone. Avoiding caffeine after 12 p.m. for some people can be very helpful in improving their sleep. And don't consume too much sugar or alcohol later in the day, as well as very intense exercise may affect you. So you got to really have sort of this self-study to see what are the things that really throw off your sleep. And of course, talk to your doctor about any medications you might be taking that could be affecting your sleep. Stimulants like ones used for ADHD, even weight loss pills, medications for asthma, antihistamines, cough medicines, and anticonvulsants, all of these can affect your sleep. So again, it's really important that you work with your doctor if you are taking any of these and discuss and let them know about your issues with sleep. Some other practical advice is to keep your bedroom very dark. There are some people, my husband did this a while ago, actually several years ago. He put the little LED lights that connect to the wall outlets because he thought it would be helpful if I were to get up in the middle of the night to have those lights. But there was one literally right next to my bed, and it was a bright bluish LED light. And I got so upset. I told him, "Are you crazy? I can't sleep with that bright light down there." I was so upset. So he just took it off right away. But little things like that can really make an impact on your sleep, which again affects your mood and all the other things that we've talked about. So keeping your room dark is really beneficial. Keeping it quiet and cold. I actually forgot to look up the actual source, but I remember recently hearing that the room should be around 68 degrees is prime the prime whatchamacallit temperature for sleep. So something to really keep in mind. Let me go back to my notes here. And also having a warm blanket. So you don't want to be cold and shivering at night. You just want your room to be cold, but to have a nice warm blanket. It's important to have a sort of ritual to help relax you and prepare you for sleep. Sound therapy can be really helpful as well. Things like white noise. They sell white noise machines on Amazon, which is great, but you can put the ocean, you can put nature sounds, or you can just do sort of like that staticky sound, or just switch it up and see which ones you prefer. A warm shower or bath before bed really promotes muscle relaxation, which is really helpful for anyone dealing with, difficulty sleeping. And also consider removing artificial sweeteners or just a lot of processed foods from your diet. All of that affects blood flow to the brain. So sort of quick story here. There was a time many years ago when I first moved out on my own, I was having a hard time sleeping. I thought it was just because I was living alone for the first time and all that. But I forget if I had read a book. I know I read books all the time about nutrition, and I know the importance of what you are eating and how it affects your body. But I think I had just started taking or drinking it's that those little lemonade packets of Crystal Light, and they have aspartame in them. And it kind of hit me one day, and I thought maybe it's the aspartame that is keeping me up at night. And it turns out as soon as I removed that and stopped drinking it, I started to sleep a lot better. So, really pray and ask God to give you some wisdom as to what things you may be exposing your body to that might make it hard for you to sleep. Couple more helpful tips. Don't lay in bed tossing and turning if you notice that you're having a hard time falling asleep. It's good to just get up and do something that you know is going to make you sleepy. So for example, something like maybe reading a book, or if you have a book that's like really boring, it would be good to sit up, read that for a few minutes and see if it'll get you nice and sleepy. Oh, and about the sugar, the artificial sweetener, there's some scientists disagree as to whether or not artificial sweeteners have any negative effect on the brain. At the end of the day, you just have to have some self-awareness about how your body reacts to what you eat and what you introduce and what you take away. So an elimination diet can be very helpful. And I'll talk more about that in future videos. But if you have questions, you can let me know in the chat or send me a message. Okay, so we're almost done here. I'm going to talk about some medication-free, so sort of natural sleep aids. Again, I'm not a doctor, and before you start any supplements, it's very important that you meet with your physician, because if you're taking any medication, supplements can actually have a very negative impact on that medication. It can make things worse. So it's very important that you hear me when I say always speak with your doctor, consult with your doctor before starting supplements. But I'm going to share with you a few that have been found to be helpful when it comes to brain health and sleep. Number one would be a high-dose omega-3 supplement. Omega-3s are essential fatty acids that you can find in things like fish. So oftentimes people take fish oil, which that's what the omega-3 supplements are. Taking a high dose can reduce inflammation, and that improves blood flow to the brain and even can help with pain. And some would say a proper human diet is also important. You don't want to be consuming a bunch of really processed foods, which are highly inflammatory, certain oils, vegetable and seed oils that are highly inflammatory, as well as a whole bunch of sugar, whether it's cane sugar or artificial sweeteners, they all can be inflammatory. So something to think about. But the omega 3s can be helpful in getting you, slowly getting you there to help reduce inflammation, but you do eventually want to improve your diet. CoQ10, so that's COQ and then the number 10, is another supplement that's supposed to be very helpful for your brain and also your heart. And another one called GABA, so that's GABA. GABA is another supplement that helps sort of calm down your brain. If you notice that your mind is just very busy at night and you can't really calm it down, GABA may be helpful. As well as melatonin. We've all heard about melatonin. It's non-habit forming and in certain doses can be considered I'm totally lost the word. An antioxidant. There we go. And the last one I would share is valerian root. 450 to 900 milligrams is what I read in this book by Dr. Daniel Amen. He's an MD. Apparently, that can be very helpful for reducing anxiety, promoting muscle relaxation, and helping you sleep. But you don't want to take too much because a high dose can make you sleepy in the day. Similar to actual sleep medication. So if you actually want to learn more about the effects of different sleeping pills and all of that, this is a great book. It's called Healing Anxiety and Depression by Daniel G. Amen. A lot of this information comes from here and also my textbook on the brain and other articles and things. So anyway, if you want to see all those references, I will send those out in the email list. So last couple notes before we wrap up. Some people develop an actual anxiety of sleeping because it's just this long history of having a hard time falling asleep, staying asleep, and then just having rough days. And it really just impacts your quality of life. I'll share a quick story. When I was pregnant with my second one, I developed something called PUPS, which it was almost like chicken pox. If you've had it, you know how frustrating it is to be in your third trimester where you're huge and you're uncomfortable and you have pain and it's hard to sleep just because of that. And then you add sort of that skin allergy. I had it everywhere. It was on my belly, on my hands, in my scalp. And it was just impossible for me to sleep. And it got to the point where I just loathed, or that's probably not the right word, but I just felt frustrated when it was nighttime and close to bedtime because I knew I was just going to toss and turn the whole night. And so that happens to some people, even independent of a physical condition, just because of all these other things we've talked about. You develop or can develop sleep anxiety. And that's when things like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is what I specialize in, can be really helpful for addressing those negative thoughts about sleep that might be keeping you stuck and not moving towards implementing the healthy sleep routine that we're talking about now. Something else there's actually CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which can be 6 to 12 weeks. And certain things are really helpful, like imaginary distractions. So when you're going to sleep, coming up with a story or a scenario, something that you can visualize and just kind of play out in your mind that will actually help you fall asleep. And it'll take some practice, but you can figure out, for some people, it could be, daydreaming about things that they want to do or goals that they have, or, whatever, teaching a class or taking a class or exercising, or it could be decorating your house or DIY projects. I don't just kind of giving some examples, but some of that imaginary distraction can be really helpful as opposed to just stressing out about things that you have to do. Think about things that you want to do, get to do, and enjoy doing. There's also something called biofeedback that can be really helpful. So noting your body temperature, the science shows that your body is ready to sleep when your temperature lowers. So you can actually start taking your temperature and recording it and start to note the sort of patterns and see what time you're sort of biologically meant to fall asleep. And things like progressive muscle relaxation can be really helpful. Listening to a meditation app. My favorite one is called Abide. It's ABIDE. It's a a Christian one and a biblical one, and it's got some amazing meditations for anxiety, depression, or just to help you fall asleep. It's really great. Last couple things, phototherapy. We talked a little bit about the sun and how it can help you. But some people, if you live in an area where there's not a lot of sunlight, especially in the winter, there are artificial lights that can be really helpful, and you can find some of those on Amazon. And also, last one, blue light blockers. There is some evidence to show that wearing those really good blue light blockers with like the orangey tint on the lenses can really help your brain start to produce the melatonin that it's supposed to later at night. And I did forget to mention that, especially for kids and adults, but I know lots of kids with ADHD have a hard time falling asleep. It's really important to turn off electronics at least an hour before bed. That's going to be really helpful in just getting the brain to really not get thrown off, because the blue light inhibits the creation of the sleepy hormone, melatonin. So you want to make sure you turn those off. And if you have dimmers in your house, or if you change your lights to those more yellowy ones, I know some people don't like them, but if your brain and body health and your quality of life and all these things are really being negatively impacted, that's something you want to think about. Switching to the warm lights, having dimmers. So about an hour or so before bed, you can start dimming the light and really just set the tone for relaxation and sleep, and get yourself there. So anyway, with that being said, that concludes this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions for me, feel free to leave it in the chat, and I will see you next month where I will share more about this. Actually, I was going to say next month I think I scheduled for April ADHD and anxiety, and then in May we'll talk about parenting. Just support for parents who have anxiety and also have kids that have anxiety. So I will see you for those. If you want the details, make sure you click the link in the bio and you'll get those. See you then. Bye.